Shifting Gears brought to you by evergreenpodcast.com. Shifting Gears brought to you by evergreenpodcast.com. So you've been researching this for a long time, and you've covered the world in these different beliefs. How has it changed you personally?
Um, I'm not totally sure that it has all that much. I think it's made me realize what I already knew, which is that there's a lot of things I don't know, and that um, I don't think that, for one thing, I don't think anybody, even people who have NDEs and come back and tell you what it's like to die, I don't think anybody knows exactly what it's like for you to die or for me to die. I think everybody's going to have a somewhat different experience, partly depending on your culture and your individuality or whatever. It hasn't really convinced me that there's an afterlife, but it definitely hasn't convinced me that there's not. Um, so I guess I just kind of I got to a point where I'm okay with that ambivalence and just kind of thinking I'll find out when the time comes what is actually going to happen.
Well, when the time, well, you're going to have to communicate. We'll have to figure this out. Um,
Yeah, yeah, which is a whole other area of afterlife
yeah,
study.
I was going to say that's a whole fun can of worms too. But is there a commonality between all these different visions of what people are seeing in the afterlife? Because we all have again the rainbows and unicorns vision of the good side of the afterlife and the fiery pits of hell. I'll say it,
Yeah.
right? But is that common, or is that just the Christian coming out in me?
As far as that's, it's really interesting actually, because as far as near-death experiences go, there are negative, distressing NDEs that people have, but they're pretty rare. They're I can't remember the percentage, but it's tiny, less than 1%. And when people do have them, uh, they seem to often be one of two things. One is that they're very confusional, and that they're very unlike regular NDEs. So they just say, it was just blackness, and I felt like there was figures dragging me down, and they don't wake up with this kind of clarity, and it doesn't stay with them for the rest of their lives and change their lives and all these other things that regular NDEs do.
I was gonna say I'm just gonna
Um,
interrupt you there for a minute because I would have thought that number would
sure.
have been much higher, 50-50 even. I had this
No,
vision of burning in the pit and say, I better get my shit together and turn my life around.
yeah, it's not that. I mean, there are evangelical Christian NDE studies that say that they're higher. Maybe it's 2%. I don't know.
Well,
But it's
you're still not.
Yeah, yeah, but it's still not very high. Um, and then some of them seem to be very similar to the traditional NDE or whatever you want to call them. But they're experienced in a negative way. So they'll go through darkness, and they'll see it as threatening, and they'll meet a being of light and think that it's oppressive. And the whole thing is just they're terrified, but it's still basically the same types of experiences. Um, but as far as actual beliefs around the world goes, most so okay, okay. Um, yeah, most cultures around the world do have some kind of judgment or negative and positive afterlife beliefs. But what I think is the case is that, at least I observe this in China and India and Egypt, that the more religion in general, but afterlife beliefs in particular, become sort of popularized and disseminated through society, and less particularly for the elite, the kings and the priests, the more they become kind of manipulated. It seems like there's more emphasis on hell and punishments and this binary good evil kind of behavior and afterlife thing. Whereas in earlier times, it's a lot less of that. So what I think was going on was a tool of social control, really. That the more people were able to control other people with this promise of heaven and the threat of hell, the more they exploited it. And so the descriptions of being boiled in a pot or having your fingernails taken out or whatever become almost lovingly described in some of these later Chinese and Indian and Egyptian texts when they just didn't really exist earlier on. And I think that's probably what's going on with Christianity too. Um, Interesting thing about Christianity is it's a religion that's based on the death and return of one particular person, but there aren't really that many NDEs coming out of Christianity. There's none in the Old Testament or in the New Testament, which I find surprising. And I think that's also a political kind of official Orthodox theology thing, that the staple of Christianity is the way to heaven and the way to God is through Christ and only through Christ. So if they were to say, popularize the idea that people have near-death experiences, then people would be saying, wait, you mean I can get there without Christ? I can get there by dying myself? Everybody can be Christ and die and return? So I think that's also some kind of a manipulation of what may or may not have happened.
Circling back to our previous question about doing it on purpose, I mean, I guess that would become a major problem.
Yeah,
If
for
you
sure.
could. Oh boy. So what about East versus West? Because the Buddhism and that versus, well, we've kind of hashed on Christianity. But what about Buddhism and that? How does that work with all this?
Yeah, that's there are a few things. So going back to the idea of what's similar across cultures, so just very generally, like leaving the body obviously is cross culturally universal, because otherwise there wouldn't be anybody to tell us about their NDEs. Um, Leaving the body, entering darkness, light, and encountering some kind of spirit beings, and then being told to return and returning to the body. Those are kind of the main general themes. But then within that, there are a lot of differences. And so one of them, for example, is the near death experiences you might be familiar with. Somebody is told, no, you need to go back to your body because you need to take care of your children, or you need to fulfill some work that you were doing on earth, or you need to change and become a better person. There's always some kind of developmental or educational motivation for it. But in a lot of other societies, in China, for example, and some small scale societies, sometimes in India, um, the reason they're sent back is because it was a case of mistaken identity, basically. So they'd say, we got the wrong Jim Malliard. We want the one who lives, outside of London or whatever. So they would send you back to your body, and they'd go and grab the other one, the
Clerical
spirit
errors.
from the
That's
other
always
world.
good.
Yeah. So obviously being sent back to the body and returning to the body is the same, but the reason for it, seems to depend on culture. And then another very interesting cultural difference is a lot of small scale tribal societies. They describe walking along a road to the other world, and they'll even say, as I was walking along the path, I saw other footprints of the hundreds of souls that had walked to the other world before me. Very rarely do they say they went rushing through a tunnel in darkness. So, but the obviously the theme is the same. They're going from one place, an earthly realm in the spirit form, to get to another part of the afterlife realm. So yeah, there's certain things that seem to be determined by culture and religion and belief, but then certain things, more general things, that aren't. And it's unpacking all that and trying to find out what everybody has and what everybody hasn't is I think at this point not going to happen, because there's so much diversity between them. And that's one of the things that makes them both fascinating but frustrating, because from the earliest times of NDE studies in the 70s, they were, even Raymond Moody's first book, he's trying to figure out what is universal about NDEs. And he was looking at, an example from ancient Greece and a couple medieval ones, and nobody's been able to figure that out. And I just think it's not going to happen, because there's all these different elements that each different person draws upon. So they're similar, but they're different. And
Even documenting the current day beliefs would be difficult, let alone historically.
yeah, absolutely.
Which
And then documenting subjective personal experiences is even more complicated, because we also don't know when somebody comes back from an NDE, um, They often will say, "Oh, it all happened at once," or it's difficult to explain. But then they explain it, and in the explaining of it, they kind of create a narrative which may not have happened in the order that they said, or they might be using symbols or imagery to explain something that's unexplainable. So it's a difficult thing to unpack.
Just like my wife, she'll tell me something's in a certain color. I'll be like, put it in the 8 crayon box for me so I can
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, exactly.
And
We all
she,
perceive things totally differently when we're in our bodies.
yeah,
So
and she doesn't like me when I do that. You mean red? No, I mean maroon. No, red.